Hey everybody, this is Larry the Cable Guy. Check this out. So I'm in my truck driving with my buddy, and we was heading up to the men's warehouse to fart in the suits, and he's listening to his phone, and I said, that sounds like Hermie Sadler. He said, it is Hermie Sadler. He's got a podcast called Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator. I said, Sadler and the Senator? He said, yeah, that's his good buddy, Virginia State Senator Bill Stanley. I said, well, what in the world? He didn't know this. I said, did you know that Hermie Sadler was voted one of the 50 best looking drivers in NASCAR? He said, I did not know that. I said, because it ain't true. You never know, though. He never takes off his helmet. But I know one thing, this show Leaning Right, Turning Left is good. So pull up a chair right there by your phone, get yourself a cold beer, and give a listen right here to this week's episode of Leaning Right, Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator. I'll tell you what, I bet Michael Waltrip's even listening. He's always wanted to do something like that. Oh, Sadler, got another one over on Waltrip. Get her done.
I'm Virginia State Senator Bill Stanley, and I'm leaning right.
I'm former NASCAR driver and Fox Sports analyst Hermie Sadler, and
Hermie
I'm
Sadler.
turning left, leaning right and turning left with Sadler and the Senator. Welcome back, Bill.
Hey, man. It's good to see you, Hermie. This is a special edition of Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator, or as our boy Shep Moss would say, leaning left and turning right.
We got to give him a good one.
Shep Moss. Shep Moss ain't here again because Shep Moss is too busy for us,
He's
or he
too
may
busy.
be on vacation. But this is a very special edition. We're doing this because next week, we were supposed to have him this week, but that was my fault. On my scheduling and my court case, I won too early. And so we're going to have I won too early. I did too well. You know, it happens.
Yeah.
And so we're going to have your brother for part 2 of the Sadler Brothers interview next week. But we wanted to remind people of that first interview because it was a classic. I think it was like our second or third show.
Right off the bat.
We were just getting our feet wet, learning how to do this podcast thing. And your brother came into the SLG skyscraper like a house on fire.
Yep.
And he was amazing and funny and hilarious, and also was really insightful and poignant, talking about, you know, children and coaching and those kind of things. I think we're going to have more conversations about that when we talk to him again.
As far as his racing,
his racing,
as far as his racing career, we talked a little bit off and on until we got up to about the time he won for the Wood Brothers.
That's right.
At Bristol. So he's got a lot more as far as racing career, and that talking about Robert Yates and Ray Evernham, who's one of our guests on the show. He's driven for Richard Petty. He's driven for Richard Childress, Joe Gibbs, Dale Earnhardt Jr. So
Even the Cowlicks did Cowlick Racing?
He ran a couple races at the end for Cowlick Racing in an effort to help the transition to give current NASCAR superstar Ross Chastain an opportunity to get his foot in the door and run some races for Nutrient Ag Solutions, a sponsor at the time in Cowlick Racing. So a lot more racing left to cover with Elliott, and I 4-time NASCAR most popular driver.
Yeah.
But now,
and the NASCAR driver you'd most like to have a beer with, wasn't he?
And today's version of Elliott Sadler, which is full-time dad. He's running a foundation here in Emporia called Top End Foundation, providing opportunities for kids, play travel baseball, travel softball, gymnastics, cheering, lots of other things as well. And of course, still loves to hunt. He's always had a love for the outdoors and conservationism and other things like that. And his son Wyatt is right in there with him on that as it relates to the ball side, you know, playing baseball and all that, as well as hunting and all that. So still a lot to cover with Elliott Sadler.
Didn't Wyatt give you a bloody nose or a black eye on your daughter's wedding?
He did. Threw a basketball at me when I wasn't looking.
And hit you in the face.
Right in the face.
It was a real improvement, actually.
Well, I
thought it was a lot
that.
better. But all around good guy, Elliott Sadler is going to be on next week. But we wanted everybody to listen to Elliott Sadler the first time we had him on. Go back through our library. We've had some great interviews. This is one of the classic ones with Elliott Sadler. Give it a listen. And then next week, we're going to bring everybody up to speed with what's going on in Elliott's life. Have the two brothers together, and Shep Mouse and myself. Should be a lot of fun. So give it a listen.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Appreciate y'all being patient with us the last couple of weeks. We've been working around each other's schedules, your legal schedule and my campaign schedule.
And I like doing this in front of you rather than
it's much better
on Zoom.
It's much better. So
Much
I like the fact we'll go back and revisit Elliott Sadler Part 1, then bring you Elliott Sadler Part 2, and hopefully by the end of this show, we can bring you the complete story of what was the life and NASCAR career of my brother, Elliott Sadler.
Prepare to learn a little and laugh a lot. This is a great interview.
Gotta laugh.
Stay tuned. The Elliott Sadler Part 1 now begins.
Episode 2.
We made it through episode 1. I'm Senator Bill Stanley, and I'm leaning right.
And I'm Hermie Sadler, and I'm turning left.
Here we are again, Hermie. This is great. I'm enjoying the heck out of this with you.
It's great. And leaning right and turning left is powered by Pace-O-Matic, who reminds you to follow the show on social media at Sadler Senator, and to make sure you subscribe so you won't miss an episode as we discuss the hot topics of the General Assembly and, of course, racing.
Did you write that yourself? Because that sounded really good.
That's too good for me.
That was like a full sentence.
We got a full house here in the Stanley Law Group offices, located where?
High atop the Stanley Law Group building in beautiful downtown Richmond, the capital of the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Is it too early to mention that the naming rights to the studio are still available?
You are correct, sir. If you have the money, we're going to name it whatever you want. It's just got to be family friendly, I guess,
family
right?
Friendly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Family friendly. Speaking of Sadler Senator, which is our Instagram and Twitter handle for the podcast.
You caused some controversy.
You caused some controversy.
You caused the controversy.
You caused some controversy the other day by not being prepared for me promoting the launch of our podcast.
You are correct, and I must take credit for forgetting. And I guess when you get older, that's what happens. But so the story goes. So you promote Sadler Senator,
right,
on, I guess, Facebook, social media, all that stuff.
Right.
I go into the General Assembly, and every single person in there, we're there for the Commonwealth address, the address of the State of the Commonwealth by our new governor, Glenn Youngkin, and everybody there is not, they're very excited that Glenn's there, but they're not talking about that, Hermie. They're talking about Hermie Sadler running for state senate in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And I said, what are you talking about? They're like, yeah, he's announcing. He's got his own Twitter handle. I'm like, really? What? No, he wouldn't do that. He would have told me about that. And then they say, oh, look, Sadler Senator. I'm like, man, maybe he did. And so it wasn't until I went over and talked to you, and you said, no, you dumb. It's our Twitter handle for this podcast, and I'm a little embarrassed, but I think it's hilarious. And so you caused quite a stir.
Yeah.
The stir is still going on. Maybe as this podcast develops, we can talk more about potentially your political future and maybe have some interaction with those people.
Or lack thereof?
I don't know. You've been pretty involved in politics lately, and I see that only continuing. So, and I've taught you a lot of the law.
Yeah.
So
well, I've learned a lot about the law the hard way.
You're just going to have to teach me how to drive a race car. I think that's the
well, no, you don't want me doing that. So let's set the table a little bit. Returning for part of our second episode is WWE Hall of Famer, Double J, Jeff Jarrett from Podcast Eat. Jeffrey?
Howdy, folks. Double J here. That's J-E. No, I'm kidding. Hello, guys. It is an honor to be amongst a senator and a senator-to-be. I mean,
here we go.
Yeah, I mean, it's
you know,
Bill, you told me that you were grooming him, and he's coming along, and I like how he's sort of got the whole world, snookered here, that he launching all these social media handles under the guise of the podcast. He's smart. I knew he was smart, always smarter than his little brother, but anyway, we're going to have some fun today.
Let me tell you one thing about him. He is the king of the selfie. I've never seen anybody on social media, especially Facebook, take more selfies unless they're like 19 years old and they got a new dress or a new hairdo. And he is all over social media. Yeah, I mean, he is the king. And so when you get Hermie Sadler to like one of your posts, because all he does is like his own posts,
of course,
then you've really made it.
Yeah.
And he's liked at least 3 or 4.
This is really special. But speaking of that little brother joining us for episode 2, we are proud to welcome, and he made sure, last week we got introduced on the floor of the Senate by yours truly, Senator Stanley.
Thank you.
4-time most popular driver, one of only 36 drivers to win a pole and a race in NASCAR's top 3 divisions. And so far, behind Jeff and Senator Stanley and I, the most famous person we've had on the podcast.
That is
so far.
Oh, my God.
Just right behind
From Emporia, Virginia, it's Elliott Sadler. Welcome.
I wondered when you were going to let me talk. Listen to y'all Listen, so you screwed it up again. Senator Stanley actually did a good job last week. It's record-setting 4-time most popular driver in the Xfinity Series. Thank you very much. Record-setting.
I still think that's pretty cool. One of only 36.
One of only 36. So when I get, we all have naysayers, right? So when you get somebody, if you tweet something and people don't like it, they always come back with the, your career was this, this, or this. So I have to throw hey, I'm one of only 36
and
NASCAR drivers.
How many
ever?
Like how many active drivers would you say there are right now in the top 3 series?
Well, in the top 3 series, it's it's 120.
Okay, so 120 times NASCAR in the 50s.
Yeah, it's 60 years old. Yeah, 65 years old.
So roughly do that math.
Yeah, and then people trying to make it to even get that opportunity.
Oh no, you're in the top. Yeah.
So I'm going to sing this song as long as I can.
Dude, I'm going to start singing it.
That's
I knew
my,
you as a handsome man.
That's my card. When you say this, excuse me.
But one of 36 to win in all 3 divisions.
And a pole.
And a pole, yeah.
And a pole.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So that's pretty cool coming from a little small town of Virginia.
So is Hermie one of those 36?
I'll have to check the record books, but being this is his podcast, I'll let him answer that.
So we got a lot to get to today. We obviously want to follow back up with Jeff coming off the first episode of the podcast.
Right on.
Leaning right and turning left. It was a smash success. This one will be better than that, but want to get caught up with Elliott a little bit too. Let's start from the now and go backwards. We want to talk about racing and how you got started and all those things. But what has been occupying your time since you retired from full-time motorsports?
So,
Wait, when did you retire? I hate to jump in here.
2 years ago. So 2020.
Wow. So you've
2020
you raced at the end all the way through 2020.
Right. So the end of I ran a couple races in 2020 because of some sponsor obligations. My last full season 2019.
Okay. So the fall November 2019 is when you stepped out full time.
When I was done.
So you've missed 2 full seasons
Yes.
now. How many deer have you killed in
A
those
lot.
2 full seasons?
A lot.
We now have a moratorium in the Commonwealth of Virginia on how many you can kill just because of the ones that are not in Greensville County anymore.
Right, exactly. One thing I love about being retired is I'm more open to say whatever I need to say when I need to say it now, as compared to before where you got a briefing from NASCAR that says, this is what's happened. This is your stance on it.
Wow.
Kind of thing. So I don't miss that part at all. But to kind of start from now and work backwards, one of the reasons why I retired was, it hit me like a ton of bricks was, I got 2 kids. And just like with wrestling, you're gone all the time racing. I mean, every weekend you're living out of a suitcase, different hotel rooms, what have you. And it just got to the point that my kids were starting to do their own thing, baseball, softball, dance recitals, cheering, those kind of things. And I was missing all of it. And it one day stands out in my mind. I was at, it was 2019. I was at Mid-Ohio on a Saturday afternoon, me and one of my best friends sitting in the bus. And I was trying to find my son's game on the radio. He was playing in an all-star game back home. Mm-hmm. And I coached him all year long. And I looked at my friend and I went, I'm done. Like, I don't want to be here at the track anymore. My heart's at home. My mind is here. And then at that level, you can't be that way and be competitive. So it hit me all at once at one day. And when I came home and told my wife, it was like a load lifted off my shoulders. So I was worried how I was going to feel. I was driving for Dale Earnhardt Jr. at the time.
Now, what year? 2018?
It was 2018.
Wow.
Because 2019 was my last year.
Yeah.
So I gave her about a year and a half notice.
Yeah.
So I called Dale Jr. and called Kelly. And Dale Jr. said, hey, because he had just, he had retired also. He said, do me a favor. Look at it as you're retiring to something, not retiring from something. So I kind of actually, that has been in my mind. I'm retiring to spend more time with my wife, my kids, my family at home, and retiring to one of my first love, and that's coaching, mentor, motivational speaking, those kind of things to help kids in my area. But when I made my mind up, it was just like a click that I had retired. I had done it enough. I had followed my dream long enough. Now it was time to put myself on the back burner and try to help my kids kind of, go after their dreams.
That's cool.
Yep. So I got to work backwards from there.
Work backwards from there.
I'm out of breath already.
Didn't you have the same kind of experience when you gave up after racing? But you were a Fox sports commentator and a great pit guy. I mean, that's, I think, half the reason why I watched racing was to watch you.
Tell by my accent, I never dreamed I'd have any kind of career in television. But I did 16 years with Fox Television.
What was that moment for you?
A very similar one to what Elliott had. I was in Des Moines, Iowa Speedway, which Elliott can tell you, that racetrack is right in the middle of a cornfield.
So Ohio and Iowa are y'all's metropolises that you had the light bulb go off
Thank you,
in.
Midwest, for killing all the Virginia drivers that we love.
Similar situation. I'm in a hotel room in Iowa, and I've got one daughter who is cheering. She was a student at UNC Chapel Hill on the cheerleading squad. She was cheering maybe in a regional final basketball game for the Tar Heels. And my other daughter, my youngest daughter, Naomi, was playing travel ball in a tournament somewhere else, maybe Myrtle Beach. So I had one daughter, I think, in Arizona cheering for the Tar Heels. I had another daughter in Myrtle Beach playing travel ball, and I'm in a hotel room in Des Moines, Iowa by myself, because some of the Iowa races, maybe the truck races on Saturday and then the Xfinity races on Sunday, so I had to stay over, and I did TV for both races. And it's the very same thing. I told my wife then, I called her that day, and I said, I don't know why I'm here. You know, I need to be with Cora. I need to be with Naomi. Mm-hmm. But my family always understood. I mean, I was working, and I was putting kids through college and doing all these other things. But I never made the decision right then that I'm done. I just kind of was disappointed in myself, or I felt bad at the moment. So that was probably in September, and we got through. Of course, it's always tougher when it comes time to actually make the decision.
Right.
But I went to Homestead Speedway for 2019, which was your last race for Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s team. And on Thursday night, prior to the truck race on Friday night, we had our year-end party with Fox. And Jacob Ullman was there, and then a guy named Steve Craddock, great guy, who was kind of in charge of Charlotte. He was kind of overseeing all the talent in Charlotte. We had a Thursday night event at Topgolf, kind of the year-end wrap party, they called it, for everybody with the team. And Steve and I had been talking back and forth about my contract. And because some of the other guys, the newer people that were coming in, they had really cut their pay way down and didn't guarantee him so many races and this and that and the other. But so Steve and I had been talking, and I said, I might do it as long as it's the same deal that I had been having. And I assumed that to be the case, but when they gave me my contract at that night at the event at Topgolf, I went back to the hotel, didn't think much of it, got back to the hotel and started reading it. And the contract wasn't quite what I wanted, you can say. But that's when the wave hit me. It's like I was reading through this, and I just got to thinking. I said, I'd always told myself, if I'm not excited about going to the airport, to get on the airplane, to go to the racetrack, it's somebody else's time to do it. And I gave myself the whole weekend. I worked the truck race on Friday, stayed for Elliott's race on Saturday, which was his last full-time race. Did some stuff on Sunday. The Virginia Lottery had given a trip away, so I entertained some people for that, and got home Sunday night and just told my wife, I said, I read through the contract again, and I said, I just don't have it in me to do it anymore. And I called Steve Craddock that Sunday night after the Homestead race and said, thank you. It's been great, but I'm not interested in continuing on. And then first thing he said, of course, was, is it money? Can we do anything? I said, it's got nothing to do with it. Right. We can't fix that. So, and I feel much like Elliott. Now that been at home for a couple of years, although we still have plenty of things going on and some traveling, but being home a lot more by and large, I've never been happier. It's been great.
And it's kind of ironic that the two of you quit or retired about the same time.
Pretty much.
But came to your own conclusions, but came to the same conclusion on different levels and at different levels of the sport as well. I mean, that's
well, a lot of the traveling we did were together. Hermie was going to do TV at the same time when I was running in the Cup Series and Xfinity, and we'd fly together on a plane. He'd stay on the bus with me. So we had each other But I didn't think when I started running more Xfinity and he was doing more truck races, we became separated. So we're kind of missing that family part of it. Mm-hmm. And then I think when he saw kind of how I felt after I retired, he was kind of like.
And plus, we all, in all of our respective racing and Bill, your situation, politics, even though you may not always agree with people, it's a fraternity.
Yeah.
Fraternity. Jeff, you with wrestling, fraternity. And I had my group of people that I not only raced with, but did TV with. Kenny Wallace, Darrell Waltrip, Larry McReynolds, Michael Waltrip, Phil Parsons, the whole crowd.
Rutledge Wood.
You
did a lot of things with him.
We would go in early, say like on a Wednesday or Thursday, and go play golf or do something together. Well, the last 2 years, because of COVID and other things, the booth guys and girls stayed in Charlotte. The only people actually traveling was me and one other pit reporter and a couple people in the truck. And they, quite frankly, no disrespect, but some of the pit reporters they put me with were new. They were green. I didn't have anything in common with them. And we didn't hang out socially. So that put me to what I was describing earlier. Go to the airport, go to the plane, fly, go to the hotel, go to the racetrack, go back to the hotel, by myself. I was really basically by myself, for those weekends while my family was doing other things. So, but I don't have any regrets. I started really at the end of 92, went full-time in 93, and for all intents and purposes through the end of 2019, made a living at the racetrack, and I never would have dreamed I'd be able to do that. So I have no regrets.
My dad used to always say, never be too busy making a living that you forget to make a life.
Right.
And sometimes we all come to that realization a little later in life. And my father was a guy that died at the age of 51.
Oh, wow.
He died a month after I graduated from college, but he left me with a lot of these kind of phrases that I remember. And so just listening to the two of y'all, it seems like you came to that realization because you're in the whirlwind of NASCAR. You're at the top of your field. You're in that small fraternity. You're known every time you go to an airport. You're known every time you go to a 7-Eleven or a Sadler truck stop. And then you're willing to walk away from that, which most people, because of our egos, because of what we do, and the adulation is there and fuels us, you both were willing to walk away from that at relatively very young ages. And certainly, you could have raced more, Elliott.
Oh, yeah.
And certainly you could be on Fox News or Fox TV, Fox Sports doing NASCAR right now, couldn't you?
Yeah, sure. But there's a lot of sacrifice with all the things we've done. We've both had, all three of us, Jeff also, and you too, Bill, and you had longer than average careers in being relative but there's a lot of sacrifices behind the scenes that people just, if you don't do it, you just don't understand. Because people, like my last couple of years, I'd do the truck race on Friday night. And if, with Elliott wasn't racing anymore, I would fly out Saturday morning and fly back home. And I'd see somebody, in Emporia Saturday afternoon. I can't believe you didn't stay for the race all weekend. I'm like, in my mode I'm in now, I leave on the last flight possible and I fly out on the first one possible. And 15, 20 years ago, I'd leave home as soon as possible and come back a day late if I could. I did.
Yeah.
But it completely flip-flopped.
Senator, we got the headlines of episode 2.
I'm telling you. What?
Why the Sadlers walked away. But the thing, I was sitting here, and I've known both these guys 25 years, and maybe in my business it's a little bit more relatable, but a lot of guys don't get that choice. They get shown the door, they get thrown out, Father Time catches up with them. You get to leave, both of you guys got to leave on your own terms. Go ahead, Elliott.
So I'm going to add to that. One of my best friends in the world is Dale Jarrett. He was responsible for me getting in the Wood Brothers car when I was a rookie. The sponsorship he used to actually have was Ford Quality Care. They switched the name to Motorcraft and gave it to us because he went to UPS. Then I was his teammates at Robert Yates Racing, and we flew together, played golf together all the time. So I went to him and said, look, these are the thoughts I'm having. You have gone through this. When I was coming along young, Dale was living his life with his kids through a cell phone. Mm-hmm. He had 3 kids, 2 daughters and a son. They were all very active, very athletic, playing sports. His son now plays for the Tidewater Tides, AAA for the Baltimore Orioles.
Oh, wow.
Here in Virginia. So they're very athletic. And so I kept asking him, man, this is what I'm feeling guilty leaving my kids. This, what do you think? He said, Elliott, if you can leave on your own accord and do it the right way, that's worth a lot mentally and to your heart years down the road.
Yeah.
You know, don't stay too long. I think maybe that's what he felt he did. Mm-hmm. And then he finally got pushed out on, pushed out the door. And that happens.
It's a totally different mindset. That's why, I mean.
What about you, Jeff? How did you do it?
Oh, I'm still going. You know what?
You're still wearing them underpants and jumping off the top rope? What are you talking about?
Here's the real nuts and bolts of the difference. Believe it or not, Senator, you're a smart man, but professional wrestling is scripted.
What?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
I'm sorry.
Yep, that's it.
But we're
Next thing you're going to say, the Santa
entertainment
Claus doesn't exist, and I'm going to throw you right out of the Stanley Law Group studio.
But no, it's
that's a long fall too.
It's highly competitive.
It's a tall ass building.
But no, wrestling you never retire from. But as far as full time, I mean, candidly, that's probably right up at the very top of one of the reasons why I started TNA is. Sort of guide my own, be my own boss, entrepreneurial spirit, set my own schedule when the time come. Because when you work for, back in those days, Ted Turner and WCW, or really Vince at WWF at the time, it was either you're all the way in or all the way out. And he didn't mind telling Hulk Hogan that, Ultimate Warrior, Randy Savage, Stone Cold, you name it. Either you're full-time or not. I mean, The Rock went off to Hollywood. You know, he was hottest box office attraction in the world. You don't really do things part-time in our business. It's
physically, Jeff, there had to be that moment where just like these gentlemen, I mean, racing is a sport. Racing takes a toll on your body. You're getting older, but there are guys. Kenny Schrader still races to this day. There are guys. Harry Gant. All of those raced well into their 40s, and so that's not like a sport like where football the average is 4 years, or baseball may be a little bit higher. But when you see somebody like a Tom Brady that goes 20 some odd years, that's the exception. In wrestling, personality drives the sport. And it is a real sport, by the way, and don't ever say that again.
Okay, all right.
But at what point did you physically, like they did, say, that seemed more mental for them? Was there a physical stop for you where you said, man, I can't do the stroke anymore? I can't.
Although, I mean, you definitely, every year it's a little bit different, but instead of, you just work smarter. I mean, the Sting right now is in his 60s and went off the top rope the other night on AEW. Yes. So if you take care of yourself, but really it's working smarter and just being around and really calculating your risk. But it's
so you still get in the ring?
Yeah. There's a big difference in doing it once or twice a month, 3 times a month, as opposed to 20 times a month.
The funny, it just caught my attention, and I know you'll get this, but you mentioned The Rock. I'll even throw Stone Cold in there, even Hulk Hogan, probably the 3 biggest attractions of all time. I never remember any of them getting on the top rope.
Right.
They did all their stuff with the microphone.
Very controlled.
And you do a certain
I don't do much,
But you take somebody like a close friend of mine and yours, Jeff Hardy. He's made a lot of money too, but he's done it on ladders and chairs. And that boy can hardly walk. And he's 40.
Mick Foley's the perfect example that he gave his body to the industry. I mean, it was his choice, but he pays for it.
You look great. I mean, you look like you've lived well and,
handsome.
And you haven't let it.
Handsome was what I like to do.
That's the first thing I thought of.
I thought that'd be like creepy sitting around like 5 guys in a room sitting there telling how handsome.
Listen, dude. Jeff and Hermie used to put up some rings for some guys that come in and wrestle and do some stuff. So I'm going to go practice one day. I'm going to get in the ring and see what it feels like. Okay. And one of Hermie's talent guys, I said, hey, body slam me. I want to see what it feels like. That's plywood. This shit is hard, man. It's like, I ain't doing this no more.
Yeah.
So when you guys do it, I know you land correctly and so athletic, but I'm like, heck no, I couldn't do that.
Yeah, that's why it's not choreographed. I mean,
it's real.
It's real. It is real.
I know people that will fight you over if it's real or not.
And I know those guitars that were busted on you did not have cuts in them that made it break easier, okay? I know. Those were real playable guitars, right?
Of course.
Thank you. Golly Moses. Stop ruining my dreams.
You ever heard Jeff play the guitar?
Hey, let me be.
I haven't. Oh.
But let me be very frank with you. Politics is not real, okay?
Oh, yes, it is.
No, it's not real at all. It's all fake. I'm kidding.
What I don't understand, as we said earlier, you were so kind as to introduce all of us and LaVar Arrington, who will be on a future
Yes.
podcast of ours, introduced us all on the Senate floor. And Jeff Jarrett is used to being cheered by everyone. The Sadlers
careful
were
where you go
not
with
cheered
this.
by everyone.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me
But
what.
does that bother
now you
you?
saw the crowd.
I saw several senators down low. Look, my eyesight's good, but I think they were saying, "Hey, man, you're number one." They were holding up that finger.
Yeah, that was not the one finger. That was
Yeah,
the middle
yeah.
finger.
Does that bother you?
But that's a
Does it bother me?
yeah.
No, I think it's great because that means that, when people, like Dale Earnhardt used to say, either they cheer you or they boo you. If they say nothing, you're in trouble.
Exactly. I just wait till you make the official announcement. Oh, we're not supposed to share that. I am
That's
so
on.
sad.
What episode number was that supposed to be on?
we pre-taped that.
They pre-taped that.
a week ago.
All right, so let's go back a little bit further.
Yeah, I thought this was.
It is.
I
It's-
thought
it's-
this session was about me.
It is.
And we-
I want to talk about
Hermie's life story for the last 47 years.
Well, look. and
Where
see,
were we
It
now?
all started in the
So
cornfield.
my name's
in-
Elliott Sadler. I'm on the show today.
Yes.
Let's start. All of y'all sitting at a conference table where we've taken some depositions. So I'm gonna enjoy along with Jeff asking both you guys some questions. Now that we started at the end of that, what was your part of the racing career? I'll ask both of you this question: have you gone back to racing in any way, shape, or form, Elliott, at all?
Yes, iRacing.
Okay, and that's what we're going to talk about too later, because that is a really incredible thing that's going on
It's
right
cool.
now.
Yep,
but in
it's
terms
awesome.
of the physical racing,
No, and I've been offered many opportunities, and I have hung my helmet up. I have lived that life. That's in the past. I've enjoyed every moment of it, but I am not a half-ass. Can I say half-ass? on the
Oh,
show?
for
I
sure.
am not a half-ass guy. If I can't get in where I'm mentally and physically prepared to try to win or do, I'm not going just to ride around to wave to the crowd. That's
Right.
not me. It's never been me. So I'm not going to put myself in that opportunity to do that.
okay.
So I'm
See,
down.
now Jeff was talking about how he still gets in the ring, but what you're really more is the entrepreneur now, the entrepreneur side of wrestling. Is that right?
For sure. I have been that way a long time.
And so your entrepreneur side of racing is iRacing.
Is iRacing. So
Let's talk about that.
So during the pandemic, COVID hit, right? So everybody shut down. Everybody stuck at home. NASCAR has a iRacing event on TV to take the place of the real race that weekend.
I watched it.
It was at
It's great.
Homestead.
It was actually great.
So I watched. Me and my kids and family watched it, and we were like, "Holy cow! Man, this is great!" So I called a friend of mine, William Byron. He drives for Rick Hendrick now, the 24 car. He was a teammate of mine at Junior Motorsports. I knew he was big into iRacing. Hey, dude, what do I do to get one of these? How do I get a rig? How do I do it? Hey, one of the best suppliers is in Richmond, Virginia. Sim Seats is one of the biggest rigs manufacturers there is in iRacing. Here's his number. Here's the guy that owns it. Well, they brought one to my house, like a rental. And I just got hooked on it.
Now, is it like a simulator?
It is. And listen, I was a naysayer. I'll go ahead and tell you. There's no way that's real. There's no way they can make it feel real, or seem real. And I'll go ahead and tell you, it's real. It is unbelievable.
Like wrestling.
Yes, just see there, Senator. That's why he's such a good lawyer.
Thank you very much.
It is so real how they can make the tracks feel, look, what you're feeling with the steering wheel and the seat of the car. It is crazy how realistic it is. So I bought
Even the degrees of embankment?
everything.
Really?
The what your eyes see is so accurate to what every single track has, your line of sight. So I started a race team on iRacing, Elliott Sadler Esports. I have 14 guys that work for me full time. And I have engineers, and I have drivers, and I got competition directors. I have an HR person. I have all these guys that we race. I mean, they're on there every night, and they're racing, and we're building setups, and we're testing. And in iRacing, they have the same thing NASCAR has. So when we have the truck series, they have building blocks. We have the truck series in real racing, NASCAR. They have what's called Road to Pro, which is also trucks in iRacing. So you got to run a series, run a season, and if you finish in the top 20 in points, you get to go to Xfinity Series. Kind of same thing in NASCAR. NASCAR Xfinity Series, kind of a stepping stone. In iRacing, they have a thing called the Contender Series. 40, because you had to qualify through this, 40 of the best guys there is in the world. They'll take the top 20 and then go to the Coca-Cola Series. Same thing it is in NASCAR. You go to the Cup Series. Well, this year is 40 guys in the Coke Series. This year we start the same week that they race in the LA Coliseum.
Yeah.
That's when we start. We run the same race they do. We run on Tuesday nights. They run the next Sunday. And our champion wins $150,000.
I could literally make a whole new podcast about I've got 1,000 questions. I had no idea. When you said Coca-Cola Series, I'm assuming they're the sponsor.
The Coca-Cola sponsors it. NASCAR has bought into iRacing the last couple of years. They are full-fledged
In it.
What they're trying to do is blur the lines between iRacing and real racing.
For what reason?
They want these kids to be a part of, we have lost NASCAR fans the last 10 years.
Hundreds of thousands.
Right.
Millions.
A lot of them,
millions. I know the TV numbers.
A lot of them by stupid mistakes that NASCAR has made. But a lot of them, today's kids are not motorheads like we were coming along.
It's a different generation.
It's a different generation. So NASCAR is using iRacing because everybody's on a computer nowadays to try to get them interested in it. So why I have started Elliott Sadler Esports, I want my kids, and I told them this, my kids on my team, I want them to have an opportunity, if I can help them, make it to racing. And what I mean by that is as a driver, maybe as a crew chief or engineer, maybe a spotter, a marketing guy.
So who's your driver?
So in the Coca-Cola Series, they have NASCAR rules. You're only supposed to have 2 drivers. I have 5 guys that made it. So the 2 guys that drive for me, Garrett Maines, who's right here, Richmond, Virginia.
Wow.
He has Asperger's, but he has raced in the little mini cup cars. He used to run in the Hampton Coliseum. Right. He's run the Legends Car Shootout in Charlotte. He's one of the highest ranked iRacers in the world.
Okay.
So he's one. And I have another one named Liam Brotherton, who's a design guy. You ought to see the race cars and stuff he can design. One of the smartest kids I know. He just graduated from UNC Charlotte. He's 21 years old. So they're my amazing. 2 guys in the Coca-Cola Series. And now that are going to run under my banner. I have 2 more guys that run for me, but they have to run under Steve Latart's name, Latart Motorsports, who's off of NBC. And that's Dylan Alt and Brian Macario. There's two more guys. And then Blade Witt is the 5th guy, who's actually a sophomore at Virginia Tech. He's running for the Wood Brothers, but all 5 of them guys run for me. We work together every week along with our engineers and stuff like that.
So it's a complete team.
You're paying everybody too? I mean, this is like a business?
Yes. It's stupid. I pay them. But listen, if I can give them a chance, if I can, with the right people at the right time. So what we're doing now is I've signed a development deal with Colleague Racing. A friend of mine, Chris Rice, runs it. Matt Colleague owns that.
You used to race for him.
I did.
How long did you race for the?
I only raced a couple races with them. I helped them get a sponsorship over there and gave Jed Bird an opportunity. But we've signed a development deal with them that when they do stuff at the racetrack or do stuff at the shop, my guys are coming in to sign autographs with them, get their name out there, be a part of the race team. So I'm trying to get my guys opportunity to. This is their dream. So if I can help somebody. That's what it's all about.
I got another question.
Wait a minute. Speaking of paying, we need to take a moment and say that Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator is powered by Pace-O-Matic, who reminds you to follow the show on social media at Sadler Senator and to make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode as we discuss the hot topics in the Virginia General Assembly and, of course, racing and, right now, iRacing.
NMLS number 65084, Equal Housing Lender. Christmas is finally behind us, but are you dreading those credit card bills headed your way? Well, here's a pro tip. Don't get stuck making minimum payments in the new year. SaveWithConrad.com can help you get rid of your credit card debt just like that. Oh, and we're going to get you the best deal on a mortgage you've ever had. But how's this for starters? No payments until March. You don't need money out of your pocket or perfect credit, so find out how much money you can save for free right now at SaveWithConrad.com.
Did you notice he cut my time, but he didn't cut you off?
Of course, yeah. That's brotherly love.
We all know we got to have sponsors.
He knows. I got a big question here.
Yes.
this is fascinating to me.
It is.
Can you watch, like NASCAR back in the day, 180, 60,000 people in Bristol and Talladega and all that. You watch it on Twitch?
Yes.
That's the viewers.
Twitch is the thing, and they put it up on YouTube as well. But Twitch is the biggest one.
Yeah.
They have a broadcast. They have guys that are calling race just like on TV.
That's what. Okay.
Yep.
So do I know who, or is it?
You wouldn't know. It's younger guys doing the broadcast.
Calling the broadcast. So it is a complete
series
duplication of Tuesday.
100%.
Down to broadcasting.
Yeah.
Hey, is there somebody on there that works the pits that's got a funny accent like Hermie?
He was, but they got rid of him.
Yeah, they got rid of him.
They got rid of him.
His name was Alan Joseph.
So,
he couldn't understand it.
Let me tell you how real it is,
Not
Jeff.
a damn soul's going to understand what that means other than
Yeah, I know.
The
We
tracks,
think it's funny.
The tracks that I was good at in real life, I am really good at iRacing. The tracks that I sucked at in real life, I suck at on iRacing.
Is it mental?
It's mental in the field. I don't have the feel to create speed.
So you
there.
can wear Bristol out on iRacing.
I'm really good at Bristol, suck at Martinsville.
But Talladega, you can.
Stink at Richmond.
Could you flip 15 times
Oh,
at
yeah,
Talladega?
not hurt a thing. Hit reset and move on. So it's it has been a good experience. I've definitely had a lot of fun with it. It has its times, because anytime you have kids that are from all over the world, all over the United States, really, they have different views. So a couple of times, honestly, when we had the presidential election going on last year with Biden and Trump and all that, I mean, I had to get on there a few times going, not on here.
Yeah.
Not on, if y'all want to, you two want to fuss at each other about who's right and wrong, go somewhere else, but not on Sadler Esports.
Yeah.
Not in our what's called Discord.
Yep.
We all get on there together. We're not talking politics in here, because what I believe in Virginia might not believe, what you believe in California or whatever.
Yeah.
So are you seeing a lot of growth in this this emerging iSports industry, and especially are companies coming and wanting to sponsor your cars in the same way that they would the actual cars?
Yes. So the difference between iRacing and NASCAR is this: we have a free agency. So on Friday night at 12 o'clock in the Coca-Cola series, there's 20 owners and 40 drivers. So each owner gets 2 drivers. And at Friday at 12 o'clock, free agency starts. So that's when owners start calling drivers and just pitching to them. I'll pay you X amount of money, salary. You get a percentage of the winnings, percentage of the championship money.
Unbelievable.
And my job is to go get sponsorship to try to sell these guys on.
So you knew the business side, as you did Hermie as well, on what it took to get sponsors, what it took to get the sponsors to stay with you, and then what you had to do with the sponsor. I think Hermie and you called that the dick pulling part. and
I say grip and grin. I think he used the other part.
Hermie, was that your phrase? But is it?
we're on a podcast, all that. Elliott and I have called social events that we were forced to attend with sponsors and other people that we had to pretend like we were happy to be in the company of. We've been calling them dick pulling since I can remember.
Now, is that about the same? I mean, do you have these kind of grip and grins and
yes,
and all of that interaction that's required? Because it sounds like your team is spread out all across the United States.
It's all virtual. So what we'll do is, if a company sponsors us, we have virtual meetings, virtual races where their people, their employees or customers can come in, and we have races against each other with our Coca-Cola racers and stuff like that.
Oh, really?
And we send them
like
content.
Employees, like the sponsor employees or something?
Yeah, they can come in and race against us, if they're at
just like a closed track.
That's
track,
right. Yeah, we can set up our own track, our own little race.
Interactive.
And they don't have to have the rig that you do. They can do it with just a steering wheel.
A computer and a steering wheel. And some of them we have started, and this is part of my deal with Colleague, a lot of our race fans and people in iRacing, they're race fans. They want to be race. So they go to their local tracks, to Kansas or Chicago or whatever, to see a race. Well, now I have 2 guys that's going to be there with Colleague. So there you go with the meet and greet. So now it is getting it is getting real.
Wow.
So we're adding that element to it as well. And the kids, they're at the right age now. They love it. Like they're wanting to do all of these things.
Yeah, I got a 10-year-old that loves racing. We have the rig room downstairs. And by the way,
are you on iRacing?
No, we just do it right on our TV from the.
What the hell?
From
You've got to
Xbox
get
and
iRacing.
PlayStation.
You got a 10-year-old kid.
You just spent $10,000 on an iRacing rig.
I'm not going to let him listen to this either. By the way, I'm going to say this is adult
Now, we did
humor.
on episode 1, Elliott, I know you already know this, we announced the formation of Sadler Stanley Racing that will compete full-time in the Smart Modified Tour. Elliott's already said he is not racing, but will you come to the racetrack and
I will
support?
definitely come to the racetrack.
Wait. He said he's not. He told you that he's not going to race in our Legends car?
Yeah, but hey, Bill,
because he told me the
If you're not
opposite.
Smart Modified, I can't do that.
Wow.
I can't fit in it.
Look, what if we made the door? Look, we had to.
I ran Motor Mile last year.
Look, in our markup, when we did the car, the mock-up, we had to make the window just a little bit wider for Hermie. What if we make it a little bit longer for you?
So listen, you are such a champion of small businesses in Virginia. You're like the voice that they all are kind of getting behind and helping with the momentum. I think you giving a younger kid a chance to drive that car will be doing the same thing. The opportunity that you're creating for people in
that
small
is a
businesses.
polite hell no. I'm not getting in the car.
I think he's also suggesting I shouldn't drive it either.
Yeah. No, I was about to say, he was telling us. So we got a 2-car, as we talked about last week.
You got an A and a B?
We got an A and a B car.
We got a fast car and a slow car.
Yeah. And in fact, Phil Stefanelli was talking about the specs with Hermie and said, well, you know, the car with the main driver is going to be really fast, and we don't have to go that fast with you. And I asked that he put on a blinker so that he can be in the right-hand lane on the short tracks with the blinker on. But what we're trying to do is then try to bring more people to these short tracks and bring more attention to this Smart Racing Series, because, you know, we're going to have that Jonathan Brown who's a really good race car driver. We're going to put him in good equipment and hopefully win a championship. But, you know, a lot of people, like we did in the Motor Mile, they wanted to come and see Hermie race. They want to come and have Hermie's autograph. And the way Smart does it, it's a lot of fan interaction. So we want to put more butts in the seats in those local racetracks, especially like South
I'll be
Boston.
glad to come wave the flag or cheer. And I think it's here you are. You always
Would
show.
you come to a dick pulling? I mean, we might have
You
to.
show how
Lord.
smart. You show how smart you are. When you have 2 race cars in a race, you always want to have one up front and one in the back. In case they miss the first one, they'll catch the second one. You never want them side by side. So it's good that you're kind of splitting it out with
There
the
you
AB
go.
car.
Yeah, thanks. That was all
And look,
Hermie's idea.
I ran Motor Mile, had a blast, but it was fun.
You notice we're talking about Hermie again?
Yes, of course.
What I'm trying to say is Bobby Labonte ran, which was great. Had a good time catching up with him. But my first race in years, first time ever in an open wheel modified, and thank the Lord, my only injuries were 4 bruised ribs I got from getting in and out of the car.
That's good. That's a win.
Yeah, we were proud of him, and we
You
had
just
the
got to
Stanley
stretch the
Lugger
seat out a little bit.
We had the Stanley Lugger logo on there. Pace-O-Matic was on there as well.
Yeah.
And when you got out of that car, I think I saw the bug come back just a little bit. But you said one thing: I'm going to be writing not the front of the check, signing my name on the front of the checks. I want to be writing on the back of the check.
Yeah.
And so I think we put something together that's not only going to help these short tracks, help Pace-O-Matic, and especially when we're fighting for small businesses as we are, but really bring attention to this race series, and especially with guys like you. Even if we can just get you to wave the flag, I think that's a
we're
great
going
thing.
back before we said we were going to move back. Now we've moved back forward from his regular career to iRacing. But before we go back, I want a commitment from you for your son. Are you buying an iRacing rig today, tomorrow? You want Elliott to take you over to sim seats over here in Richmond?
We'll get him fitted
tonight?
and no problem.
Well, I heard the one thing that I
Christmas is
liked,
10
which was
months
the word
away.
rental. Like they sent you a
You
rental.
don't want to rent. You don't want to rent.
Well, rent to own. How about
Because
that?
they're in Richmond, which is right close to the Stanley Law Group studio here, that the naming rights are still available.
Jeff, is there still time to get out of this contract? and not do this podcast
Nope,
anymore?
not at all.
Because it's costing
We're
me
just-
money. I don't see any way where I'm making money on this thing anymore. But no, he's very excited. You know, he wants to be a race car driver.
Sure, yeah.
We've talked about
Well, there's no
karting
better
and-
way to do it than iRacing.
Okay. But he's just in love with it. And I'll tell you, in his rig room, he's got a poster of the two of you with The Rock, signed by the both
Oh,
of you.
yeah.
And I think it was signed actually by Hermie, and then Hermie just, forged
Sure.
your signature.
I'm fine with that.
But it's a great poster, and he's got it right next to all his favorite race car drivers. We're going to let's put a double J up there while we're at it. But yeah, and you can start, the fun part of that is it does cost a lot of money to start in racing.
Yeah, sure.
Even go-karts, that's a lot of investment of time and money. While we're talking about this simulator here, that it may be expensive, It can be done at home. They can get into it right away. There's a lot of opportunity there for them to even find out whether they like to do it or not, right?
100%. And my son, that will probably be the only thing he'll ever be allowed to race is a simulator.
You wouldn't let
iRacing.
your kids get back in the car?
I don't think I want him to do that. And my wife definitely doesn't. My wife definitely doesn't want him to do that. It's a tough road. It's expensive. It's tough. It's a lot of travel. The politics behind it has changed. The business model of NASCAR right now is different than it's ever been. It's just a tough sport now to get into. And if you're in it and you got an avenue to get there and you have backing or you have family, it can be good for you. But if you're not in the door, it's tough to really work your way up through it.
This is the part of the podcast I am gonna let my 10-year-old listen to when he talks about that. But
It's tough.
But let's go back into the Wayback Machine here and let's start where you guys got started. I mean,
Well, I was going to say, we mentioned one of the races that the Smart Modified Tour races on is South Boston Speedway. And Elliott, back in 1995, won the track championship, won 13 races in that season. So that was kind of maybe the year that kind of got you noticed and got you ready to take that next step into which was then the Busch Grand National Series. Talk a little bit about.
Well, hold on. I want to find out, where do the Sadler brothers here? Where did you get the bite for racing? Was it something your father or your mother got you into? When you started, I mean, how old were you? What got you off the ground?
So when we were kids, our Uncle Bud, my mom's brother, was a racer, and he ran on local dirt tracks, and then he ran on some asphalt, bush racing back in the day. And our dad also owned a dirt car that we'd all go just kind of pile up in the vehicle and go watch run. So it was in our family. And when we would start racing go-karts on Friday nights or Saturday nights, or our uncle was racing somewhere, we'd all meet at Sunday afternoon at our granny's house, my mom's house. And it was like all of us were doing something with racing. Not only just Hermie and I, but our cousins. We had a couple cousins 3 or 4 of them that also raced other than us. We were just a racing family. Most of them, racing go-karts. Our cousin Tom raced a little bit of late models back in the day and some short tracks. But it was just, I think, from my Uncle Bud and then also my dad that, we just had an opportunity. And we have a guy that still works for my dad to this day, Hermie and Dad now at the oil company. His name is Danny Wyatt. He was a world champion go-kart racer when we were coming along. I mean, that's what he did on the weekends. And I think one time he took Hermie to a go-kart race when Hermie was probably 13 or 14 and let him race. Well, I'm the younger brother, right? I'm 7. Well, hey, if my older brother gets to do it, I want to get to do it too. So that's kind of how the door opened for us to get to do it. Is one of my dad's employees was a world champion go-kart guy and kind of took Hermie and I under his wing and then helped us. And he actually taught me how to race, how to drive, how to work on go-karts. And a lot of the time when I was growing up, my dad was always busy working and business stuff. Danny would actually take me driving. Well, if you notice, his name is Danny Wyatt. Well, my son's name is Wyatt. That's not a mistake. So he's named after this guy that kind of taught me everything I need to know about racing growing up and kind of get me on the right path.
Now, for you, Hermie, I mean, you're the older brother.
Yep.
Dad's got the race team, same setup in terms of the family. Did you just naturally think that's what you wanted to do or were going to do, didn't have a choice to do? How did you just get into it to where Elliott was following along his older brother?
As Elliott said, I have very fond memories of going down to Wilson Fairgrounds in Wilson, North Carolina, Fayetteville, Saluda, Brunswick Speedway, Chantilly, to watch my Uncle Bud race. My mom had a big family. It was 6 kids, 3 brothers and 2 other sisters, and they all were involved in racing. So we would go pull for my Uncle Bud, and as Elliott said, my dad had a car. My dad never drove, but he owned cars that were very competitive. And all y'all that know my dad know he is super duper competitive regardless. And so he spent a lot of time, effort, so we were going to races. I mean, even before he was born, I was 3-4 years old going to races, and then we just kept going. And then we've kind of had a natural progression. I started to go-karts, and then Elliott started pretty quickly behind that. And then I won the World Karting Championship in '88. Then started.
What's that take? What does that entail? I mean, world? Or were you going
That's a lot
to
of
foreign,
travel.
Yeah,
foreign countries, or was
racing-
this all United States?
United States.
Okay.
But I won that in '88, and then I started.
How old were you?
19.
19.
Something like that, yeah. So then started messing with late model stock cars, and then actually it worked out really, really good that, Elliott was, when I moved on to late models, Elliott stepped up to the karting side. And then when I went to, from late models to the Busch Grand National Series, Elliott came in and kind of took over and then elevated my late model, the late model program to even more success in winning championships and those kind of things. And then
Was it brother to brother competitiveness at this point?
Hell yeah, we had a hell of a mess. No,
I've known y'all 25 years and didn't even know this. The upgrade.
And then the coolest part probably of all the things we did through the years was when it came time for Elliott to, after his track championship at South Boston, we wanted to put him in a couple of Busch Grand National races, and I already had a team. Mm-hmm. So we were able to.
When you say you had a team, what do you mean?
I owned my own Busch Grand National team at the time.
Right. Okay.
Sponsored by DeWalt Tools. And my shop was over in Chesterfield, Virginia at the airport. And
now, what was your sponsorship money at the time? I mean, what year is this, and what's it take to put a team together and keep it together?
95, 96.
Yeah, 95, 96. I'll give you some
raw data here. Here we go.
1993. You mentioned it on the Senate floor last week. Mm-hmm. Virginia's for Lovers, Virginia Tourism Corporation, was my first full-time sponsor in the Busch Grand National Series. Primary sponsorship for the 1993 season was $400,000.
Wow.
For the whole season.
And that took care of employees, all parts?
All of it.
Trips.
We all had to, between associate sponsors and my dad trying to help and my owner at the time, Don Beverly, putting personal funds in. I'm not saying that's what it took to run the race team. I'm saying that's what a middle to top line primary sponsorship went for in 1994 in that series.
Okay.
$400,000. My first deal with DeWalt was 1995. That first deal was $750,000. And I had them for 2 years. But it really put us in a position that where when Elliott was, because look, when you, like in his case, when you're making that jump from a local Saturday night short track to a Busch Grand National car, nobody is going to want to spend money on you or let you drive their car or maybe tear it all to pieces or do all that until they've seen you race a couple times. So Elliott drove our cars a couple times and did very well. He ran, I remember South Boston,
Richmond,
maybe Nazareth.
Hickory, Nazareth, New Hampshire.
So a handful of races we put in to kind of get his name out there. And then he was picked up by Gary Bechtel shortly thereafter.
So I'm going to tell that story. You know, a lot of things in life is the right place at the right time.
Right.
So I'm driving one of Hermie's cars at Hickory Motor Speedway, and Bill Engel is there for Bechtel Motorsports trying to make the race. He does not make it. My car is solid white, no sponsorship on it. Their PR director, head of their PR, is Benny Parsons' son, Keith, who was Hermie's roommate at UNC. So he comes to me and goes, look, we have missed a race. Can we put our sponsorship on your car? And I'm going, yes, you can. So they put their sponsorship on my car, which at the time was WCW Wrestling. This was 1996.
Did you have the double J with the gold lame underwear on there?
I have a beautiful uniform car and everything with me with the Sting face on the hood. WCW, it was yellow and purple. So anyway, I ran very well in that.
Did you know that, Jeff?
I've got a hood. Double J's face was on a 99 car. Go ahead, though.
But did you know that WCW?
No, I didn't know this. I knew the Bechtel story. Yeah.
I run that race. Monday, I get a call from Keith Barnwell, says, we need you to come to Charlotte. We want to talk to you. So I drive to Charlotte from Emporia, Virginia, 3.5 hours, and I walk in their office, and Keith Barnwell's there. He's the manager of the race team. And Gary Bechtel and said, okay, we want you to come drive for us, but it's a tryout basis. So we're going to go to Darlington on Wednesday. We're going to take you to Darlington. If you run a specific time, if you run a 30 flat, we will take you to Michigan this weekend to race. This is a tryout.
Wow.
So I'm like, oh my God. So anyway, here comes my Dale Jarrett story. And I could talk for 4 hours if y'all needed content.
I love this.
So
This is great.
I'm mesmerized.
So I show up at Darlington to go test. I drive through the track Wednesday morning. There's my little 29 car sitting on the corner, and it's 7 race cars lined up. Some of them have 88 on them. Some of them have 28. 1996 was the year Dale Jarrett was trying to win the Winston Million, and he had to win at Darlington to win it. So he was there testing. So I get out of my rental car. I go up to Dale Jarrett. I go, look, you don't know me from Adam. My name's Elliott Sadler. I'm Hermie Sadler's younger brother. Yeah, you race against my son. Jason, you race against my son, Jason, at Hickory. I said, yes, sir. He said, all right, cool. So you're here testing? I said, yeah. I said, look, is there anything you can help me with? I've never been to Darlington before. Anything you can do to help me get ready? He said, get in the right seat of my race car. So I got in the right seat of his race car, no helmets on or anything, and he drove me around the track in his race car. And he's there testing to win $1 million now. He don't hardly know me from Adam. And he took me around and showed me some things that I need to mentally think about. And every couple hours, he'd come check on me. Hey, man, you need anything? You good? Looks like you're doing all right, man. You're pretty fast. And I'm thinking, oh, my God, these people in NASCAR are so nice. But that was the first time.
That's the first time you met Dale?
Yes, first time I met him. And he treated me like a brother or a son or however you want to do it at that test. So I ran fast enough at Darlington. And I got to go to Michigan and race that weekend for Diamond Ridge Motorsports. Wow. I qualified 10th, finished 9th. They said, okay, come to Charlotte next Wednesday. We're going to test Charlotte. And if you run fast enough at Charlotte, we're going to let you run the Bristol night race.
This is the Xfinity Series.
This is the Xfinity Series.
Yeah.
So I go to Charlotte and test the next week, run fast enough. They take me to Bristol. So I had 2 tryouts and 2 races. And then the next Tuesday, they signed me a deal to drive for them. So you're talking about me and Bechtel did. The Bechtel Corporation in 1996.
But the thing we need to emphasize is the fact that he got those opportunities because
I
put him in my equipment.
We're going to circle back. Now, hey, I don't know if you know this, but Bechtel and the professional wrestling, WCW.
I don't.
They used to go up to Richmond. Now my question is, they used to go to the Richmond wrestling matches.
All the time.
Who took y'all? Was it one of Bell's
one of my dad's friends, Mr. Maxie Moore.
I've never asked that.
Maxie Moore would take us to all the
employee of your father.
Richmond Coliseum.
And Maxie was hardcore.
I mean, he was real, and he figured out how to get underneath the Coliseum. So when y'all would come out with that, we're standing there as kids to everybody, and he didn't mind asking.
Do you remember Jeff big timing you way back when you were
Are you kidding me? That's when, look, I ain't that old. Damn,
that was before
still
my
a fascinating
time.
Story. That whole
so that was neat. So they offered me a job. I remember signing a contract. So 1996, I'm 21 years old. I'm now making my own money. I moved from Emporia. I had to move there to work in the shop. That way I could learn. They can keep an eye on me, 21 years old.
What are they paying a 21-year-old guy?
$60,000 a year plus a percentage of the purse was my first contract I signed.
Question.
Yep. I lived in a hotel. Question.
Had you quit college?
Yes, I'd already quit college.
You'd already quit, but
yes.
Yeah.
See, we skipped right over that.
Yeah. And because Herman, that's another thing, Hermie. You went to 4 years of UNC parallel. You never quit racing during the 4 years of college?
Never quit racing.
So you literally...
I gave up a lot of stuff in my college. I didn't...
Yeah, but still, like even...
When I was in college in Chapel Hill, I was alternating weekends. I'd go to South Boston one Saturday night, Orange County the following Saturday night, alternate back and forth.
All through school?
College. Yep.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So I get my job. I living in a hotel.
Well, hold on. I want to back up just a second because
who's asking the questions on this podcast?
Jeff's doing a great job.
Me and Bill, because I want to follow this because this is a story. I've already got 3 or 4 headlines. Why the Sadlers walked away. Yeah. Elliott.
Fighting for his time on the podcast.
Yes.
Right.
High school basketball star, scholarship. George.
James Madison.
James Madison.
Yep.
1 year, hurt your knee.
Yep, had knee surgery.
And you wrestled. Here we go. You
fought with that.
You raced all through basketball, or no? Did you stop?
Yes, I raced. But see, so I had 17. I had 17 scholarship offers to play baseball in college. But baseball is during the summer. And my dad was like, we done spent all this damn money on racing. We're going to keep racing. And, of course, I love racing, too.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'll go to James Madison and play basketball. That's during the wintertime.
I got you.
And then I can race. So then I got hurt. I never played a freaking game in college. I mean, I was that guy. And see, this is what I tell my kids all the time. I was that guy. Poor, pitiful me. Why is this happening to me? You know, I spent my whole life getting ready to play ball in college, and now I'm hurt, and I can't pursue my dream. You know, the whole world's against me.
Yeah.
You know, I was that guy. So I quit school.
Yeah.
When I came home for our Christmas break, I didn't tell my parents. I showed up with all my stuff in the back of the truck. Well, my dad didn't speak to me for a month. I mean, he didn't even speak to me.
Oh, wow.
All he said was, have your ASS at work Monday morning. So me trying to outthink the system, he's like, all right, you're going to come in and you're going to work. You're going to wash cars.
It's an oil company or a dealership.
Yeah, a dealership. You're going to wash cars. So I'm washing cars. I'm having a ball. We got the music playing. I'm making $5 an hour, you know, doing the whole thing. December, January, February. I'm having too much fun back there. All right, now we're going to put you in the parts department. Learn how to work with parts. So I'm up there and still kind of having fun doing all right. He said, all right, now you need to learn how to sell cars. And if you're going to be at home, you need to learn how to sell cars. But I'm not going to pay you salary. I'm just going to pay you commission on when you sell a car. So I'm at work 2 days. I sell a car. I get my commission check. I'm rich, right? I'm rich there. So I didn't show up at work for like a week. I was going working on my race car.
Oh,
I didn't show up. So
boy.
Daddy went up to the manager one day and said, how's Elliott doing? We ain't seen him. We ain't seen him. So
You done made enough for the monthly.
I done made a month on the monthlies. I didn't have to go, I didn't have to do that
Yeah.
every day. So he got so mad at me. So we went through that time.
Yeah.
And finally we had a sit down heart to heart at the beginning of 1995. I said, all right, listen, give me 1 year to make it on my own. 1 year. And if I don't, then I will come back, do the family business, whatever, however, whatever. And I was bound and determined that I was going to make it.
So the pressure was on. The
100%.
Bechtel situation happened. You got a full ride. You're in Charlotte. You're working in the shop.
Working in the shop, having a ball, running for Bechtel, We finished in the top 5 in points the first year. The second year, we're leading the points.
Who's your sponsor?
Phillips 66
Yeah.
out of Bartlesville, Oklahoma. Love those guys. Bob Pomeroy was the head guy. So anyway, driving for Bechtel, leading the points in 1998. About May, middle of the season, Bechtel comes in, fires half the team. Just me and Bechtel. Fires half the team. We're leading the points. So I've lost like half of my team, and they're shutting down the other team, Jeff Green's team, and they're moving Jeff Green the cup. What are we going to do? So at the end of that year, we ended up finishing like 3rd or 4th in points. I got a call from the Wood Brothers. And that's when I didn't know if they were real or not. They were like, hey, this is Eddie Wood. I thought it was a buddy of mine at first. I'm like, yeah, right. No, this is Eddie Wood. I want you to meet me at the Bennigan's in Michigan. We're going to talk on a Thursday night. So they offered me a job to drive for the Wood Brothers, and I started that in 1999.
Wow. So Bechtel was
I left Bechtel at the end of 98. I could kind of see the writing on the wall with him.
and then you were with Woods for how many years?
Wood Brothers,
Long time.
4 years with the Wood Brothers. But I'm going to tell you what, Eddie Wood taught me the best lesson I think helps me to this day. So it's 1999. I'm 24 years old. We have a gathering at the shop. I walk into the shop. He didn't tell me everybody was going to be there. All the employees and their families.
Ooh.
So I walk in. Hey, everybody. They're all standing there like this.
How old are you?
23. They're all standing there like this, just standing still, almost like, army lined up. He said, I just wanted you to see this and want you to know your actions on and off the track dictate a lot of what these people have for their families, the jobs that they have for their families. We've got a great sponsor. We got a great team. This is what we do up here. I just want you to understand what you're responsible for. But honestly, that picture sticks in my head
Sure.
from then on out, that, our decisions reflect, make a big difference for a lot of different people, especially on a race team.
I was going to say.
So you couldn't be stupid, So, but I probably needed that at that time.
Yeah,
of my
well,
life.
it's like the basketball players, NBA or NFL quarterbacks. They are the franchise.
They are. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
What an amazing story so far.
Yeah, and we could keep going, man. There's so much,
No, we're gonna
so
keep
many
going.
twists and turns in somebody's career as you go through different things.
You're not kidding. You're not kidding. And at some point in time, I mean, your brother puts you in his car. You get these kind of opportunities, but at some point, you all start meeting on the track. Do you not?
Well, we became teammates. We became teammates in '98.
Yeah, 95 through 97, I ran my own team. In 98, I went with
We were
DeWalt to be a teammate with Elliott at Diamond Ridge. And we, luckily, fortunately, whatever, we never had, that I can remember, a real issue as far as on the track. I mean, we never.
You never got mad at each other, never wrecked each other? Not one time?
I think we were pulling for each other more.
Yeah.
Than
I
maybe some
never,
other guys
it was
were.
never, it probably would have been fun if we'd have had times. But, Elliott, came in and I mean, was really competitive and did well and accomplished a lot. And it was, I think we were always in a position, even when we were on the track at the same time, always in a position where we were pulling for the other one to do well. So
Was there ever a time where you guys were running NASCAR, going for the win, competing, something happens between the two of you, or were you usually working as teammates even if you weren't
trying
teammates?
to work as teammates
Really?
Most of the time.
Even when you weren't on the same team, when those
and
things
then,
came?
then ultimately, when I got out of a full-time situation about the time that my daughter Haley was diagnosed with autism, I stepped back from the ride that I had, and when I went back, really from that point forward, my main deal was television. I had one-off rides here or there and did some things, but then I had more opportunities in media to help really promote him and things that he was doing as well. So
Wait a minute, this is one of those like happy brother stories? You guys weren't messing with each other?
no,
Really?
I know that's not exciting for the pod.
I mean, you want to make something up?
I'm sure we can come up with something.
Choreograph it like Jay.
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
I was going to
just
say,
like
this,
wrestling.
it's not wrestling or politics. It's racing.
So this one usually slips Hermie's memory. In 1995, Hermie decides he wants to come back to South Boston Speedway and race against me. They were paying him money, like show money, to come show up. So we give
So
him.
far, the story's accurate.
So we give him a car that he takes over to his bush shop to work on.
He gave me a trade back. I gave him some of my
Right.
car, so now I'm going back. He's giving me one.
So
again.
we
Okay.
show up at the racetrack, and it was competitive that week. We wanted to run a car a certain way. They wanted to run their car a certain way, and we were trying to banter back and forth. So we show up at the racetrack. Well, I'm leading one of my biggest rivals in racing at that time, named is Stacy Compton from Hurt, Virginia.
Everybody knows Stacy.
Stacy Compton. And Hermie's running third. Well, all of a sudden, I don't know what's going on behind me. Caution comes out. Well, I look in my mirror. What's he like? WWBT Channel 13.
Channel 13.
Channel
Channel 13.
Channel
white
13 was his sponsor, White Taco Bell and
yeah.
all that. So that car's not in my mirror anymore. It's a yellow slip-in car. And I'm coming around the corner and everybody's doing this. I am getting the bird from everybody in the stand. So
You got him, didn't you?
Hermie wrecked my biggest competitor that I was trying to beat for the points.
So it was solid.
Yeah, did me a solid. So I got booed pretty much the rest of the year because I brought Hermie in to help wreck my competition.
That is
But-
wrestling 101.
Did you mean to do that?
I did not.
Of course he did not mean to,
only-
allegedly. It was allegedly. Since we're sitting in a
The
Stanley Law
Sadler
Group.
brothers, the Anderson brothers.
What had happened
What
was
happened was.
I got in there too hot. No, but I had raced with Stacy years past.
Oh, don't try to. Yeah, ain't no sugarcoat it. Hey, what's done is done.
Well, I did get in there too hot and wrecking, but it certainly was not.
But I don't know if they were giving me the finger or Hermie the finger. But
You.
I think we both were getting. We were getting the double number ones.
Yeah, the left hand was sad and the right hand was
Yeah.
lure.
Yeah.
You know. So what ended up at the end of that race? Did you win it?
I did, but we won the championship, which was the most important part of it.
And
That
Compton
night?
and his friends didn't get out
No,
there?
it wasn't, because that would have really been bad.
There wasn't any altercation or some words?
There's a lot of mouths, but we had some big guys on our team. Big John was always with me, Jeff.
Was he?
Big John would come down into the pits and say, listen,
You know what
if
John's
everybody
got?
keep your hands below your waist, nobody going to get hurt.
What the hell does that mean?
That means don't
don't bris up.
That was always his saying. Just keep
Gotcha.
your hands below your waist, and we'll be fine.
Senator, Big John they're talking about, he's got a big set of hands.
He does.
His
Thank
hands.
God you finished like that.
I was wondering where that was going.
I'm not going to let my 10-year-old listen to this one either.
I said, hands.
Okay, good.
God, get your mind out of the gutter.
I don't, Jeff, I just wait. It was so dramatic how you were building up. I thought for sure it was going to go south. Literally.
Look, I want to take one more opportunity to remind everybody that Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator is powered by Pace-O-Matic, who reminds you to follow the show on social media at Sadler Senator, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode as we discuss the hot topics in the Virginia General Assembly and, of course, racing and a little bit of wrestling as we've done today. This has been fun. Elliott, I want to personally...
But I do want to talk about one little small more thing before you kick me off the radio. Then y'all can edit it however the hell y'all want to edit it.
Well, wait. I mean, we're just scratching the surface, Jeff. This is
but-
amazing.
but-
I don't. Did you notice all of a sudden when we got down into one little race at South Boston, suddenly the two of them are going, "Hey, thanks for having me." Oh, I hear my mom calling me. I got to go. I think what we do right now is just take a little commercial break. Take a commercial break. We come back, and that gives Jeff and I just a couple minutes to figure out how to finish our line of attack and cross-examination.
He's only
of the Sadler Brothers.
23 in the story.
I know.
He's 52 now, so we got
We got a lot of stuff.
Oh,
we
this
can
is-
go
we
through.
got 30
This is
years.
an exciting
we could have
podcast.
covered
Yeah.
30 years, but
This is an exciting podcast for you and me, Jeff. I think that I'm just thrilled to listen to this, and if you guys will just hang on with us, and I think we have more questions. And let's take a little break here. Let's
I reserve the right to plead the fifth.
let's pay homage to our sponsors, and we'll be right back. Okay, so you're listening to Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator. We'll be right back.
Hi, folks. This is Hermie Sadler. Thanks for listening to our all-new podcast, Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator. I hope you are enjoying the show as much as Senator Stanley and I enjoy bringing it to you. Whether you're a family traveling together or a truck driver hauling freight up and down the highway, I hope you will take the time to visit one of our Sadler Travel Plaza locations in Virginia and North Carolina. Sadler Travel Plaza locations are licensed dealer locations for Pilot Travel Centers, and we also carry Shell Motiva petroleum products for our four-wheel friends. We pride ourselves on providing one-stop shopping for service, food, and entertainment. Our food options include Five Guys Burgers and Fries, Quiznos, Dairy Queen, Hermie Sadler's Faux Show Bar and Grill, Victory Lane Restaurant, Hunt Brothers Pizza, Dunkin' Donuts, and much, much more. Our locations include Sadler Travel Plaza in South Hill, located off I-85 at exit 12. The Sadler Travel Plaza of Emporia, which is conveniently located on exit 11B off I-95, and Sadler Travel Plaza on Highway 58 in Suffolk. We also have our North Carolina location, Sadler Travel Plaza in Dunn, North Carolina. That's exit 75 off I-95. We appreciate all of our customers, and Bill and I appreciate you listening to Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator, powered by Pace-O-Matic.
Hey, this is Bill Stanley, Hermie Sadler's sidekick on this podcast. When I'm not in Richmond at the Capitol or doing this podcast, my real job for the past 27 years is as a trial attorney with the Stanley Law Group. Here at the Stanley Law Group, we represent our clients in every courthouse in the Commonwealth. No problem is too small for us to solve. No case is too big for us to win. Whether it's criminal charges, traffic offenses, civil disputes, litigation matters of any sort, we handle it all. We make sure that we treat every client like family because they are to us. Your problem is our problem. Your success is our success because we hate to lose more than we love to win. And believe me, we win a lot. Don't believe me? Go ask Hermie. I'm his favorite lawyer, and he hates lawyers. So give us a call at 540-721-6028 and let us help you. Or visit our website at www.vastanleylawgroup.com.
That's www.vastanleylawgroup.com. At the Stanley Law Group, we'll make sure we're the lawyers that you swear by and not at.
I'm Senator Bill Stanley.
And I'm Turning Left. I'm Hermie Sadler. Want to remind you that this podcast is powered by Pace-O-Matic. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button wherever you listen to your podcast, and be sure to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. Then, listen each week as we discuss a wide range of topics about small business, law, and government, plus our biggest love, auto racing, which we're doing today with Elliott Sadler. What a show it's been so far. Elliott, we've already talked about we want to get you on another podcast down the road to finish this up. We're just scratching the surface, but before our break, we were touching a little bit on the Wood Brothers years and the fact that you won that race at Bristol, started in the back, went to the front, their first victory in 8 years, first ever at Bristol. Finish up that story.
And first, Patrick County is, of course, a county that I represent in the 20th Senate District. I love Wood Brothers 21. I've always loved them. My dad loved them when I was growing up. I mean, that's what got me into racing. They were a homegrown Virginia race team. They've stayed that way. They've never varied. That must have been a thrill for you to be a part of that team for a period of time.
You know, growing up a fan of any kind of racing in Virginia, you knew about the Wood Brothers. So the first couple of times I walked into the shop, there's Glenn and Bernice Wood. They work there every day. I mean, it's the owner and the wife, and they just treat everybody like it's family. And, of course, Leonard Wood, how smart he was, and he was so innovative. And watching him do things in the back of the shop, and they would spend so much time with you. I mean, they just made me feel like their long-lost son while I was there. But I think one of the coolest things was winning the race at Bristol. Hermie just brought it up. A couple key things that went into that. We qualified terrible.
38th, right?
38th, but I broke Dale Earnhardt's record. Dale Earnhardt qualified 36th one time and won the race. I qualified 38th. Nobody has ever qualified that bad at Bristol and won the race.
It's almost impossible to do that.
It is very much almost impossible to do. So I had to break, one of my
Seriously, I guess it is impossible to do again.
He's one of 36 who got a pole and won the race. He may be only one of a million who 38.
38.
Has anybody done that?
No, that's what I have the record for that. I broke. Dale Earnhardt had it. Now I have it starting 38.
That record stands today.
This is separate from the record-breaking 4-time
most popular driver
in Xfinity Series.
Who didn't get to talk at the banquet, but that's another.
That's a whole nother podcast, guys. We're not even scratching the surface.
You're coming back. That's
I'm
for
still
sure.
pissed about that one. And I'm going to go off subject. But my coolest award that I've ever won in NASCAR. NASCAR did a fan vote in 2005. Who would you most likely want to have a beer with in racing? I won in 2005.
Shocking.
I won the.
Shocking.
I was the driver most fans wanted to have a beer with. I didn't even add that to, for our speech at the Senate. We'll do that next time for the introduction I brought in. But going back to the Wood Brothers, the coolest thing was winning that race. And we were running okay. We were not great. But Bristol is a very short track. You have to make your decisions so quick on to pit or not to pit. Pat Trison was my crew chief. Beginning part of the year, it's about our 6th or 7th race working together. So we were still feeling each other out. Where caution comes out, where I'm talking at the same time he is, hey, are we going to pit? Are we going to not pit? Are we pitting? Not pitting? I hadn't heard anything. So he's telling me to pit. At the same time, I'm keying my mic, going, hey, you got to tell me something. You got to tell me some commitment line. So I stayed out. So he's like, hey, what are you doing? I was like, you didn't say anything. I was asking you to let me know to pit. You wouldn't. I told you to pit. You got to stay off the radio. Blah, blah, blah. So we're screaming at each other. So it's like, well, what do we do now? And he says, well, you got to come in and get tires. You're almost out of tires. Just come in and pit. And Eddie Wood goes, no. You've made your bet. You're leading the race, but hold on for everything you've got. And we ended up winning the race on old tires, track position, and all of that. And John Andretti was driving the 43 car, and I was driving the 21. So it was the 21 against the 43 like it was back in the 70s.
NASCAR history right
NASCAR history. So we win that race, and I remember pulling into victory lane and seeing tears on the guy's eyes. Lynn Wood, his wife, who just passed away a couple months ago, Nancy.
God rest her soul.
Yep. Carol, Eddie, just bawling, crying. It was cool to win a race, but you didn't really realize how cool it was to give back to somebody that had given you an opportunity in racing. So we win the race. We're at Bristol. All of a sudden, Eddie goes, "You ain't going home tonight. We're going to the shop. I've called. We're going to have a party waiting for us when we get back." So we load the car up and all this stuff. So we drive from Bristol, Tennessee, through the mountains. We go to Stewart, Virginia. We show up at the shop, and it's like the whole town of Stewart, Virginia is there. It is like a party going on, like trucks pulled up with drinks, vending machines, and all kinds of crap going on outside, music playing. They had toilet papered their whole shop. They had toilet papered Eddie, Lynn, and Carol's houses.
And they all live together.
They all live right there on the hill together.
Oh, wow.
So they had toilet papered all their houses. Like, it was almost like a parade when we came back in. So, I'm a 22, 23-year-old kid, 24, and I come into this town, and it's like I'm the mayor of Stewart, Virginia tonight. Like, I'm the king of the castle. It was just neat.
Yeah.
There with the trophy, and people hugging, and kinfolk, and just local people from the garage down the street. And that was a really neat time.
Yeah,
And
that's Patrick County for you, Jeff. That really is. I mean, it is a close-knit community.
It is.
It's a wonderful community. They like to be left the heck alone, but they care for each other in ways that are old-fashioned, but in the same way, I wish the rest of the world thought like they did.
Well, it was their race team, whether they worked there or not. It was their community race team. And I had to, I learned that over time being there. But, I was pretty much a part of Patrick County when I was there. Like,
That's great. And they've
welcomed
got
me in.
the Wood Brothers Museum.
It is, yeah.
And isn't your car there?
It is.
Your car that you won in at Bristol
Is in
is
the Wood
right
Brothers
there in
Museum.
Stewart, Virginia, and you can go touch it if you want.
Yeah.
And the engines and the replica engines that the Wood Brothers do right in there, it's the most amazing museum. If you like autosports, if you like history, go to that museum. It's right there in downtown Stewart.
Well, there's so much history in it.
Yep.
Now, what year was this? 98?
2001.
Okay, so even better.
Yeah.
So, and
That's a monumental season.
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
I was going to say, when I do the wrestling podcast and we talk about events in the 90s, it wasn't the streaming world. There wasn't 400 channels on TV. It was the golden era of cable television and ratings.
Mm-hmm.
How many people were at that race?
It was packed. 160,000. Sold out.
That doesn't
Going crazy.
That doesn't happen today. I'll just say
No.
that diplomatically.
Not in front of that many people.
That's what, I mean,
Yeah.
just the real golden age in a lot of ways. He was red hot. Merchandise was red hot. Man, that's pretty cool. 24-year-old kid.
From the 70s, the 80s, 90s, right to about right then. That was the golden age, I think, of NASCAR racing.
Oh, 100%.
And you were a part of it. You were
I
part
was
of
a
that
part
history.
of it with some really good teams. And, we hadn't even scratched the surface on any of that. But, I went from the Wood Brothers. Then I got to drive for Robert Yates. I got to drive for Ray Evernham. I got to drive for Richard Petty, Richard Childress, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Michael Waltrip. I've gotten to drive for a lot of different guys.
There is a lot more to tell.
It
isn't
is
there?
a lot more to
There's
tell.
several more podcasts. I can't
do
wait.
believe so.
So yeah, this podcast was supposed to be about the career of Elliott Sadler, so we didn't get through but about a third of it. So you will come back for another
I definitely will.
podcast.
Yes,
All
sir.
Thank you so much.
What
a thrill.
What a thrill this has been. It's been fun for me. I've actually learned some stuff too, but it's been so much fun talking. This is only episode 2. But we'll have you back for another one. I want to thank you. I want to thank Jeff for hanging around for our first 2, our maiden voyages
Indeed.
on Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator. Jeff, thank you.
You're on your own, boys. You're on your own now,
I think
kids.
we're ready. I think we're totally hooked.
I think so.
Jeff and
this
I
is
are exiting the building, so it's all on your shoulders.
That's
now,
right.
guys.
That's a lot of responsibility.
All right,
Do you think you can do it?
Oh, yeah, we got it.
Okay.
We got it. Thanks to everybody for tuning in, downloading the podcast. Keep up with us on social media, Sadler Senator, on Instagram, Twitter, all that. We'll see you again next week for episode number 3. And what's the name of the studio, Bill?
You're sitting high atop the Stanley Law Group studio on top of the Stanley Law Group building in beautiful downtown Richmond, Virginia, home of the capital of the Commonwealth.
Soon enough, though, maybe in the next couple of weeks, we're going to take the show on the road down to Emporia, Virginia, to Faux Show. We'll keep everybody posted about that online. But thanks, everybody, again.
And I'm leaning right. I'm State Senator Bill Stanley.
And I'm turning left. I'm Hermie Sadler. We'll see you next time on Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator.
NMLS number 65084, equal housing lender. Woo!
Tax season is here, which means you've received or are expecting that tax refund any day now, and you're thinking about what to spend it on. How about a new home? With SaveWithConrad.com, we're helping renters become homeowners every single day, and it's more affordable than you think. You don't need perfect credit. You don't need a huge down payment. In fact, you may not need a down payment at all. At SaveWithConrad.com, we take the stress out of the home buying process. We'll determine your buying power. We'll even help you find a realtor. And unlike the banks, we don't say no. We say not yet, but here's how. So if you're not ready right now, we'll get you on a plan to be ready. Stop throwing your money away, paying someone else's mortgage with your rent, and start the path towards owning your own home today at SaveWithConrad.com.